So Neil, the first thing we practice, it's like the most basic warm-up exercise, but it's teaching clutch friction point control. So what she's going to do is called short, smooth stops and starts. So we're just starting and stopping at each cone. Believe it or not, if you've not practiced it, it can get a little weird, right? You get a little clunky, a little wobbly.
That's okay. So then we're going to go as slow as we can in the friction, riding the rear brake until you reach that cone in the front tire like this. Eyes always straight ahead. Higher. Good. Don't drop the throttle. Keep that throttle in one position. Okay, so it's less clutch, more throttle.
For me.
It's okay, okay. Everybody does this. So, because it's not things you're used to.
Right.
If you let your clutch out right now to the grab, let me see where the grab is.
Oh, mine's out like right there.
Right there, okay? So find it and stay there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Stay there. Feel that little bit of friction?
Yeah.
That's where you want to live. Yeah, keep it high.
Got it?
That's it. It is tricky. It takes practice.
I'm going to have to definitely practice.
Yeah, it's something. We've been practicing for 2 years. Yeah, once you feel the friction, you'll feel better. You've got to become fearless of your motorcycle. And when you fear your motorcycle less, you can enjoy the experience of up-leveling your drills, up-leveling your skills, putting more options in your toolbox, and enjoying that experience of motorcycling more. We are at practice session 80 today. Can you believe we've done 80 practice sessions? I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary of even learning to ride a motorcycle. I got my endorsement like April 8th of 2023. Absolutely terrified. Most horrible experience ever learning to ride a motorcycle at my MSF course. We hop in my husband's truck, we run up to Tennessee, buy my motorcycle. It was a beautiful 2016 Heritage Softail Classic. I loved her. I actually sold her recently and bought a Road King to practice on because I'm doing a lock and lean in April. So it's actually going to be my 2-year anniversary of riding, and I'm going to do lock and lean 101 up in Pensacola, April 19th. So I've come a long way, baby. And so we are on practice session 80. We have myself, Rich, and Mike, and who knows who else will show up. But we are going to get started and have some fun, and I'm going to do some exercises, hopefully, that help me prepare for my lock and lean. I don't know what they do in that class, but I've been up-leveling my drills. I've been doing brakeless. I've been doing the tighter turns. Today I'm going to work more on my drop-ins. Those are things that I have a little bit of trouble with still, is the drop-in and it's like the drop and catch and the throw and catch. They're still scary to me. Again, everything is scary until you practice it a million times and then you get used to it. And then it becomes habitual and you know what you're doing and you know what your bike's gonna do, and that's why we suggest you practice. You've gotta become fearless of your motorcycle. And when you fear your motorcycle less, you can enjoy the experience of up-leveling your drills, up-leveling your skills, putting more options in your toolbox, and enjoying that experience of motorcycling more. So we're going to get started. Exercise 1, smooth starts and smooth stops.
If you're new to slow speed maneuvers, you really want to focus on exercise 1 and exercise 2. But exercise 1 is your smooth starts and your smooth stops. So this is where you get used to the 5 steps of starting your motorcycle. It's where you get used to keeping your throttle elevated and steady the whole time. And it's where you get used to getting into your clutch at the really fine points. So that is getting yourself going and then bringing the clutch in a little bit so that you're going as slow as possible. And then having the brake win out when you go to stop so that you can actually put your foot down and bring the clutch in and then bring the throttle down after your foot's down. Now you can see here Rich is going very fast from point to point. This is too fast, so you want to make sure that you're taking off enough to keep the bike up, but not this fast because the handlebars are not moving back and forth, so you can tell he's going too fast. His stops are really smooth, but he's really going too fast. And if you notice on this, Mike is going really slow. So this is where you see that you're going slow enough is when the handlebars are moving back and forth. He's not going into the clutch more to correct the fact that he's starting to tip. He's using the handlebars to go back and forth, and that is really what you want to be doing. You want to get really good at managing the bike and working it out, handling the handlebars, and coming to a smooth stop, keeping the bike upright, not pulling the clutch in too soon.
Exercise 2, slow ride, no rear brake. I'm going to start off really slow on this one because we have a little bit of a hill that we go down on the parking lot. And then we gradually go uphill. So we wait until we actually have to have the motorcycle be pulled up the hill, very little clutch, and then a smooth stop if we get our handlebars straight.
Now, if exercise 1 is too hard to do when you first get started, start off with exercise 2. Exercise 2 is where you take off and you're just using the slow ride, you're not using the rear brake, and you're getting familiar with the friction zone. You're keeping the throttle elevated and steady the entire time, and you're just using the clutch to go in and out of the friction zone so that you can manage the bike at a very, very slow speed. And at the end, you're going to use the rear brake and come to a smooth stop. Now notice when he stops, he doesn't use the rear brake. Now Mike is going super slow. He's using his handlebars to work out the tippy feeling that he's feeling, and he's going into the clutch as he needs it, keeping the throttle steady. And this takes a little bit of practice to get used to how much clutch you actually need to keep the bike going slow. And then he stops with the rear brake, making sure to keep the throttle consistently elevated and waiting to pull the clutch in until he puts the foot down.
Exercise 3 is trust and believe. Make sure you're in first gear. Cover the rear brake. Throttle up the preload. Find that friction point. Bring it back.
Foot up.
Wow.
Just stayed right there. That was great.
I didn't move at all. That was great.
On exercise 3, the trick is to stay still until you feel the tip, and then you let the clutch out, coming to a smooth stop.
Really nice.
This is so that you can ingrain it into your nervous system that when you feel that little tip of the bike, you actually let the clutch out rather than put your foot down. And you don't panic when the bike starts to tip. You're in complete control. So we had somebody from the Hog chapter show up, so we had to go through exercises 1, 2, and 3 to demonstrate what we were doing, and then let him try
So
it.
Neil, the first thing we practice, it's like the most basic warm-up exercise, but it's teaching clutch friction point control. So what she's going to do is called short, smooth stops and starts. So we're just starting and stopping at each cone. Believe it or not, if you've not practiced it, it can get a little weird, right? Get a little clunky, a little wobbly. So what she's going to do is have a little light rear brake pressure, because you probably know how that is. Like, we're not taking off with the duck walk, right? So it's a little light rear brake pressure, finding that friction zone.
I only use my one leg anyway.
Yeah, good.
I don't use it.
So it kind
Unless I
of,
want to stand up and stretch.
right. So the mantra is preload it and keep it loaded. That's a real key. Like, you got to have some RPMs in there, right? Okay. So she's going to load it and then get into that friction point. As soon as she starts to feel the bike moving, picks the foot up, right? So no hopping and kicking and stopping. And then we're practicing front tire stop at the cone. We got to know where our front tire is, right? So it's just real smooth. You see the RPMs are staying there. And so the kind of the brake wins, right? So she's in the clutch, nice easy brake. You want to go slow enough because, you know, anyone can go fast. The whole deal is practice slow. You have to go slow enough so you're having to correct a little bit. That's kind of the indicator, okay, I'm in that space where I'm learning this technique, right? Generally, people want to gas it and get going and then coast. Right? So we're really trying to kind of stay in the power, right? So then the second one, so that's called exercise number 1, stops and starts. Exercise number 2, which we just did these, is just called slow ride. So this is more of a focus on taking off, but also really just clutch. So no rear brake. We're not even touching the rear brake at all. So it's just that, get that clutch friction point in a place where you can maintain really slow speed on the bike. Again, handlebars are doing that, right? And when you need a little, it's just a little movement. It's just really teaching that small move dexterity. And then in the end, at the end, you do use the rear brake for a smooth stop. So real smooth stop. So far so good, right? Easy enough to understand, yep.
Kind of like a slow crawl, basically. Like
Just a slow crawl.
Like when you pass your test.
Yep. And it's really teaching that friction point, that dexterity. A lot of people, they kind of view the clutch as either on or off. Like it's either all the way in or all the way out, right? Right in it. We used to call it feather it, yeah. So this is exercise number 3. It's called trust and believe. This is the only one that we really don't support doing on the road. This teaches the habit of letting the clutch out when we feel, oh shit, like wobbly shit, instead of pulling it and putting our feet down. So what this is making sure you're in first gear, covering the rear brake, get the throttle up to 1800, 2000, get the clutch where you need it. She nods her head and I go foot up. I say foot up. And when she puts her foot up, you hold it until you start to feel the bike tipping. Then you let the clutch out. She's going to try it again. Foot up. Right there. That's the key, because when it starts to feel weird, we want to embed that habit of clutch out, because when there's sufficient power to the rear wheel, the bike wants to stand up and go straight. So people miss that. They think, oh, it's so big and I gotta hold it up with my strength and everything. It's really, if you know how to work the brake and the clutch right in the throttle, that dude will stand right up. So you want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Easy enough? Yeah, you came all this way, might as well, right?
That's okay. All right, so the first 5 steps, we didn't really go over those completely, but it's always make sure you're in first gear. Everything we do is make sure you're in first gear, cover the rear brake. You're gonna bring your throttle up to what we call preload position, which is 2,000 RPMs. And you're gonna hold it there. So it's preload, keep it loaded. And then you're gonna go into the clutch, right at like, as soon as it grabs, and hold it there. Not further. You can go out a little further and come back, but only like a nanosecond, just to keep the bike upright. Okay? So then we're gonna go as slow as we can in the friction, riding the rear brake until you reach that cone in the front tire like this. Press the rear brake, keep the throttle up until you put your foot down, then bring the clutch in and the throttle down. Okay? Eyes always straight ahead. Yeah, just keep it up there. That's good. Keep it up high and look at pull supply. Higher. Good. Okay, so now you're coasting. You feel that? You're just coasting. You want to keep this high so it sounds like it's too high, and stay in the friction so the bike is actually pulling you. Don't drop the throttle. Keep that throttle in one position. You got it. Nope. You're dropping the throttle.
Too much clutch.
Whoops.
Throttle dropped down when I let out.
Okay, so it's less clutch.
So I might have to-
Less clutch, more throttle. Tricky.
Got spooks.
Yeah, keep it high.
Got it?
That's it. It is tricky. It takes practice. Eyes up. No, keep your foot on the brake. Yeah. Don't press it. Just. It's.
I'm gonna have to definitely practice.
Yeah, it's something we've been practicing for 2 years. So. Yeah, once you feel the friction, you'll feel better. That's it. That's better. That's better. Okay, so slow ride all the way back until. Keep that throttle up. Yeah.
His dexterity's not quite there yet. Just
Yeah.
bouncing the brake, not enough clutch. That was no. Boy. He does not have guards on his bags either.
And you don't want to stop when your wheel's not straight. Obviously, you know that.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you go past the cone and back up. It's fine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the slow ride. So take your foot off the brake. This is all clutch work. So when you feel the bike needing more, you give it a little more push. This needs to stay at 2,000 the whole time. Eyes straight ahead, and you're going to go at my pace. Look straight ahead. Right, so you're not going to stop. You're not going to stop at any of the cones. Keep the throttle high and just work your clutch.
Right.
Yeah. So you're.
This one's tougher for me.
It's okay. Okay. Everybody does this. So because it's not things you're used to.
Right.
All right. So again, on the way back, just do the slow ride. Try not to use the rear brake. And if you're going too fast, it means you're too high in the clutch. Too much clutch.
Okay.
So the clutch is like if you let your clutch out right now to the grab, let me see where the grab is.
Oh, mine's out like right there.
Right there. Okay? That's where you,
Short.
yes, that's too much. Okay, so get used to where that is. Do it again. Okay, so it's okay, so think about this. It's not all the way out or all the way in. It's right here. Like see right here. So find it and stay there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Stay there. Feel that little bit of friction?
Yeah.
That's where you want to live. Okay? And the throttle at 2,000, your bike will stand up like a gyroscope. There you go. Keep it there. Keep it there. Keep it there. Too much clutch. to straight and then stop. Don't stop with your wheel turn. Okay, so I noticed that you were in the friction. Did you feel it?
No, I felt it, but I was coasting because it's a downhill slope.
Oh yeah,
so
right over there you were coasting.
it was
But right here you were using it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, I felt it.
Okay, so you want to try that again here. Now we've got a little bit of a decline, so you
Right.
really have to ease into the clutch. Just slight. Eyes up, always straight. Okay. Light, light, light with the clutch. Too much. Keep that throttle high.
Hopefully I'm not going to let it down.
Yeah, it's only because you're dropping the throttle. It's a lot to think about at first, but once you realize that I got the throttle high and I keep it there and I don't have to think about that at all, then it's just learning how to manage your clutch and your rear brake. And then after that, once you get your clutch mastered, it's only stay here, and then just tiny little maneuvers on the brake. And that'll get you to go faster or slower, okay? So just a little bit here, we'll go slow.
He's pulling his clutch all the way to the lever, all the
Yeah.
way to the. Just,
Yeah, so you're pulling your clutch all the way in. What you want to do is live right here because you need it immediately. You can't pull it all the way in and then find it again. Throttle higher. Yeah. So when you hear the throttle high, you associate that with speed.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Okay? And then you pull the clutch in. But what you want to do is and what I would just do is practice like in the shade
Right.
with both feet on the ground, right here, just the clutch. And just do it in the shade where you're not too hot. And just get used to living in this one little spot on the clutch. Because you can't pull it all the way in because then you got to find it again when you need it. Yeah, right there. So go around over where Rich is and be in the shade. Do that same slow ride that we were just doing. He's going to ride the rear brake, right? He's covering the rear brake. He's going to come slow into here, and he's going to look that way first, okay? And then he's going to turn his handlebars, and the objective is to do this thing straight up and as slow as possible. So he's going to round this corner as slow as he can go. Okay? And no leaning the bike. Okay? So he felt he was going to lean, so he kind of clutched out. But the objective is to learn to clutch out. Okay, not put your feet down. Everybody's first time is always to put their feet down. So he's high throttle. He's counter sitting a little bit. His weight's over here. And then he's turning this way. So he's pressing with his right hand. And he's bringing his left hand in. And he's keeping his body straight up and down. High throttle. Just clutch as he needs it. Make sense?
Yep.
And then we do it from the stop. To a stop. Okay, so he could have gone a little bit further and straighten out first and then do the stop. And then he's going to go this way. So he's going to go to the right this time. So you're working both sides, so you're ambidextrous on your bike. You'll find that one side is easier on your bike than the other. So you see what he did? He kept the throttle high, and then he kind of just worked the clutch to get where he had to regulate his speed for that turn. Now he's doing the inside cone, so he's close to the inside. He's He's gonna go close to that inside cone and then turn that way. So that's a thing to help you with clearing your bags. He doesn't have bags on his bike, but we do it with the baggers. And it's always harder when you're demonstrating. But he's holding, no lean at all. This is like if you're on gravel or dirt. So if you gotta turn your bike around or turn left or right on gravel, you know, it's a very useful skill to have. He's going to do it from a stop. He's got the throttle high, little clutch, and then straighten out to a stop. See? So this drill is super, super handy, especially like if you're at a gas station and you've got something in front of you and you need to start from a turn from a stop. Most people don't think that they can actually turn their bike first and then go. And it's an absolutely amazing skill to have. So we practice this all the time, and we practice it brakeless as well.
Something else I've learned, I picked up somebody, because you got to look through the turn too.
Yes.
Because that helps, like it automatically.
You know, if there was a nickel for every person that we encounter down the road, that probably shouldn't be. I mean, but so why wouldn't you just try to help people get better? You know.
I made a comment to that one though. I said he knows his limits and he's only practicing the short stops and starts.
I commented to that effect. Like we're here to help.
Right.
Not judge.
Right. Exercise 4, left and right turns from a stop. These cones, he's going to be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
All right, this one's going to be from the inside cone. Let's see if I do this one.
Cleared it.
Yeah, I hit the cones on the outside though.
Once you get proficient in exercises 1, 2, and 3, exercise 4 is doing the exact same thing, except you're just turning the wheel. So you're staying straight up, you're going as slow as you can go, you're dragging the rear brake, and you're turning the handlebars either right or left. We're going left in this instance, and you're keeping the bike as slow and straight up as possible. There are many different variations you can do on this exercise, but stay focused on going straight through. Once you have straight through down, you can vary it by doing it from a stop and going straight through, and then you can do it from a stop to a stop. That's the standard exercise. We also add in doing things close to the cone. We go over the white line. So we have to turn the handlebars from when we start, and we also do it brakeless. But those are all level up iterations once you have the basics mastered. So stick to the basics until you have it down. And this exercise, go lots of times left and lots of times right. And it's a great exercise, especially when you need to turn on unstable surfaces. Or just get used to handling your bike when it's not doing what you want it to.
Good job.
And not putting the foot down.
I tried to counter sit and it was a little, I didn't have enough.
Again, we're developing
momentum
skills
there
that we
to
learned in
pull myself
exercises
up
1, 2,
straight.
and 3, using them when it's appropriate,
With the brake.
adding in the turn, and being able to handle our motorcycle when it feels tippy or we need to turn it, we need to keep it upright and going slow so we're not on a stable surface.
All right, one more brake less.
And we need to be able to know when to let that clutch out, how much to let the clutch out, how much to use the rear brake, how to counter sit and manage your weight on the bike, keeping yourself upright while the bike is turning. So all of this is just the different repetition is going to have you feel really comfortable and confident on your motorcycle, which is what we're looking to fear it less.
So Rich was saying he thinks somebody's sleeping in that car right there. I said, this is soothing music to put yourself to sleep. The purr of the motorcycle.
We were here when that person pulled in. He must have known we had motorcycles here and we were setting up cones, so.
Well, he didn't seem to care.
You can go park over by somewhere else if it's too noisy.
Yeah, I personally like the sound of the purring motorcycle. Right turns.
One side is always going to feel a little bit easier than another side. It seems like you get used to one side or it's more comfortable to turn one way than it is another way. I don't know why that is. For me, it depends on the bike I'm using. For you, you can let us know in the comments which way works best for you or is easier for you. But with more and more practice, if you have one side that's more difficult than the other, focus on the side that's more difficult rather than leaning towards the side that's not difficult. Go towards the side that gives you the most trouble and practice it and practice it and practice it. Now, what we've done is we've moved the cones in the lane in, so the alleyway that we're turning into is more narrow than the standard lane that you would turn into. And that's just to make us work harder at keeping it tighter and tighter and tighter. This is the point that Neil showed up at our practice session, so we were all the way through exercise 4 by the time he got here, and we went backtracked and did exercises 1, 2, 3 and explained exercise 4 to him, and then he watched the rest of it.
How you doing? Good.
Oh shit. Well, no, but I was coming in and he was just like, I didn't know where he was going to go, and he started, I was turning over here and he just started, he was right there and I'm like, where are you going?
Yeah.
I'm going the opposite way.
Yeah.
No,
All right, this
this
one's brakeless.
Come on, don't slow you down.
And we always lose.
If you really want to get good at your clutch control, practice the exercises brakeless, but do that after you have them down with the brake and using the rear brake for correction and control. But once you have that down and the exercises are starting to become more natural to you, then start up leveling. Start making them a little bit more difficult. And by not using the rear brake, your clutch control is going to improve dramatically. I can assure you that.
All right. So we'll do these at 15 and then we'll do them at 12.
So the idea here, Neil, is there's a couple of sayings for each one, so you can kind of, we lock it in our heads. And the saying for this one is start wide, stay wide. So it's not really, the exercise isn't really don't hit a cone. The exercises work on the transition, and you're going wide, and you're going through the cones as a, starting wide and staying wide. It's not like a cone slalom, you know what I mean? It's only to get into the practice of handlebar transition, leaning the bike. The body stays straight up and down, head and eyes are forward. Right? So, that's kind of advanced looking, when you first start. So you didn't do that when you first started, but newer riders, it's okay to not go quite so wide, but I think it's important that everyone understands the intention of what the exercise is trying to teach us.
I just noticed you guys got one of those helmets.
Say again?
I just noticed you guys got one of those helmets that light up.
Oh, that's hers. Yeah, that's a.
I've seen it. I've seen them online.
Yeah, it's just an attachable light. You can put it on any helmet. It's called Brake Free. And it's a gyroscope too, so it just slows down, it lights up.
Oh, that's that water now. I'm thinking
Yeah. It's just, built on a gyroscope. It really makes a big difference. People are behind you. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
I was up in Daytona. I was like, I had to put on the saddlebag light.
Oh yeah, nice.
Oh, actually, the more lights I got, the better.
Did you have custom
If I get a thrower pack,
Yeah.
it'll have that lights on.
Yeah.
I'm going to put them at 12.
Okay. Lori's going to tighten up the cones here.
I'm going to put them at 12.
Did you have custom dynamics to your lights, Neil?
I had fairing exchange, but they are custom dynamic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they did my fairing because I did all my fairing. Yeah.
I bet you that lights up nice.
We need those other 2 cones over there.
Roger.
The markers.
Got it.
So these are at 12 feet apart now. This is what police officers do?
You seem to be... Go ahead, honey.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to do some.
Yeah, I'll do a little. I just don't want to leave them. Yeah, I'll do a couple. This is a really good one. You seem, just on what little I can see, everyone struggles with that. But not everyone...
Well, they adjusted.
Yeah.
I've only got, because I literally only got
Yeah. Yeah.
But it did the one that's
Notice the throttle.
So listen to her throttle. It's always the same. It's always up. If you let it go down, then you got no power to hold you up at all, right? She'll go around. So I think that once you get the clutch stuff, I think you'll be okay with this because you seem like you're okay with the lean. Some people can't stand to even have it leaning.
But you gotta get that clutch figured out. That's why I know I gotta look up.
Yeah.
When I'm transitioning out to a slow roll, that's where it's like, I know that I need to look at it.
Sure. Well, every Wednesday and Saturday, I won't be here Wednesdays going forward, but I will Saturdays. She'll be here Wednesdays and Saturdays. I'm going to take a couple of reps here. Okay.
I'm going to do brakeless. I'm brakeless on this one. That was hard.
If you're new to this exercise, start out with the cones at 20 feet apart, just to get used to the pattern and also get used to, keeping your bike in the friction zone, having your throttle stay steady, learning to work your rear brake for correction and control, and getting your bike to weave wide. Okay, so really learning to transition those handlebars, and that's what this exercise is for. Once you're comfortable with that, move the cones into 15 feet, and then, work on that. We worked on that until we could do it brakeless, and then we moved the cones into 12 feet. And now we're working on not only doing 12 feet, but doing it brakeless. So again, there's always an up level, there's always a way to improve your skills, and there's always a way to keep yourself constantly and ever improving and getting more refinement in your clutch control and your ability to be the boss of your motorcycle. And that's really the goal, to fear your motorcycle less so you can try more things. And it's fun. Fear your motorcycle less so you can enjoy the experience of motorcycling more. And that's really the excitement, going on trips, and whatever you come up against, you can handle. That's the goal. There's nothing better, no better feeling than coming up to a situation on the road where it's kind of hairy and you are like, bring it. I can't wait to do this and use my skills, rather than avoiding the whole situation altogether, or, walking your bike through something and having that feeling of anxiety and fear that something's going to happen. So U-turns. First one is regular 27-foot U-turn. We set the U-turn box up with a 27-foot wide space to turn in, where you're hoping to really maximize your space at 24 feet. Then we also have the green cones that delineate the 18-foot mark. So if we want to get inside of 18 feet, we pull inside those cones and we do the U-turn there. That's an 18-foot U-turn. So when you're working on that, again, we're using the same exact friction zone. We're covering the rear brake or dragging it gently. That helps us with the correction and control when we're, to manage our speed. I do work on this brakeless so that I can work on managing my speed with just my clutch. But again, we're keeping the throttle preloaded.
Wow, nice.
At a constant rate, and then we're in the clutch in the friction point, so we're just going probably 8 to 10 miles an hour. You can go a little bit faster, and we're turning our head and eyes first, and then we turn our handlebars and we lean right away and maximize that angle. We do this 3 times through typically. The first time through is just straight through. The second time through is we do it from a stop. And the third time through is we do it from a stop to a stop. And then that really is just to demonstrate all levels of control of our motorcycle. So we're working continuously on not only doing those 3 things, but we're repeating them over and over again, and then we're up leveling by doing it sometimes brakeless, or we're doing a drop and catch or a throw and catch, depending on what we're practicing on. And the whole goal is to really do it very smoothly, in control, knowing where your limits are, so that when you're on the road, you can manage U-turns. And it doesn't matter how wide the U-turns are, you can make them. So a typical street is 12 feet wide, I think. One lane is 12 feet wide.
That's a good one.
And then the other, if you got 2 lanes, it's 24 feet wide, which is why you want to be able to do a 24-foot U-turn. And you should be able to do that in your sleep all day long, both directions. So we do a number of these U-turns going left, and then we switch over and we do a number of them going right. And again, we're doing the same 3 exercises, going straight through, doing it from a stop, doing it from a stop to a stop, and then we add in some up levels of brakeless, or we'll do some from, the stop is like no going forward. We just do the turning of the handlebars right away and drop into it. And we're just doing these exercises. We do them twice a week. We post them on YouTube because we want people to see what it takes to actually embed these drills and skills into the way we ride. It's not just about doing a drill and then going back to the way you ride on the road. It's really about integrating the drills as the way you ride. So when you're on the road, you feel so much more confident in your ability to handle your motorcycle. And it takes practice. The repetition is really how you're building the muscles. It's not rocket science to be really skillful on your motorcycle, and it's amazing that more people don't do this. First of all, practicing is fun. It gives you something to do, especially in a place like Florida where, you know, the roads are flat and straight and there's not a lot of things that you can do other than ride flat and straight. So practicing gives you so much more variety, and it gives you something to work on. So when you are traveling around the country or going to different places, you can handle anything that comes your way. And I can't stress enough that is so invaluable, that even if you're just going up the street to, you know, a restaurant and coming home, these skills will come in handy. Plus, it gives you so much more to do. And it's fun. It's fun to be good on your motorcycle. It's super fun to be good and confident on your motorcycle. And not only that, people spend so much money on their motorcycles and make them look so nice. And when you can't ride it all that well, it doesn't look as good. So you can make a bad looking bike look good if you could ride it. So why not learn to ride it and really look good and really feel good about yourself and really feel confident, and obviously be much safer on the road, because if somebody, you know, comes out in front of you, you're not going to say, there was nothing I could do. And that's the last thing you want to be saying, is there was nothing I could do. You want to have an arsenal of things in your toolbox at all times to handle any situation that comes out on the road, because it really doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's still our responsibility, because we're taking the responsibility of riding a motorcycle. It means you're taking responsibility for everything that happens on the road, because you're the one that's going to lose in the battle between you and another vehicle. So be prepared, get out and practice. You don't have to practice with us. It just matters to us that you're out there practicing, and that you're improving your skills, and you're enjoying the ride. And honestly, so many people ride with anxiety and think that's the way you're supposed to ride, when really you can ride with complete confidence. And if you don't have skills, if you can't do these exercises and you're out on the road and you think you have confidence, or you say you have confidence, it's like you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what you're going to do should something happen. And you don't really want to put yourself to the test and find out what you would do when it matters and your life is on the line. So those are my words of wisdom. Hopefully it matters to you that you are safe, and it matters to us that you are safe. And we want to encourage everyone to get out and practice and improve your skills and get over that little hump of not thinking that you can do it. Because the first time you get out there, you're going to think you can't do it. That's for sure. Because these things take time to practice and embed into your neurology, and they also take time to learn. It takes time to unlearn all the habits that you already have. And it is difficult to go from what you're already familiar with. You may not be entirely comfortable with it, but you're familiar with it, which makes you comfortable. And then to have to unlearn that and learn something new makes you more uncomfortable until you actually learn it. But the benefits of actually being good on your motorcycle and 100% in control at slow speeds will give you the ability to be more in control when you're going faster too. because the key is knowing how to stop your motorcycle. And a lot of times people don't know how to turn their motorcycle, they don't know how to lean their motorcycle, they don't know how to go slow on their motorcycle, and they don't know how to stop their motorcycle in control. So if you have to stop your motorcycle very quickly when you're not ready to, that could be a surprise. And if you don't practice it, you have no idea what you're going to do. So this is a way to know what you're going to do, to know what your bike is going to do, and to be able to handle it with control and confidence. And that's why you practice. So hopefully this will encourage you to get out there and practice.
I can't pick it back up. I'm getting better at that though.
Slide for life.
The slide to stop.
Definitely getting better. Here we go. And we're remembering to put the kickstand down first.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
That's important.
And
Yeah.
the right hand turns are scary to me.
So there you have it. You know, I just dropped my bike on a U-turn that I'm practicing, and I know I can calmly bring my bike to a stop. I know how it feels. I know how to pick it up. I've never actually had to pick up my bike by myself. There's always somebody there to help, which is nice to practice with other people. And you just, through the repetition, you get more and more and more familiar with all these uncomfortable things. And that's really what I'm trying to stress here, is that you're going to get over the initial fear and anxiety of doing all of these different drills. And then once you get over that fear and anxiety and you start to pick up the actual skill and you have it, you feel great about yourself.
So if I keep my reps way up, it makes me less scared.
And you want to do more. And that's the invitation, is just try it. Try it
Oh, that was a
until
good one.
you
That was a good
can
one.
do it. Don't give up
Yeah, a
the
little
first
lean on
time
that
you
one.
try it because it's scary or foreign or makes you nervous because you don't know how to do it. You're not going to be good at it. So let me just get that on the table. You're not going to be good at it the first time you try it. But you are going to get good at it when you practice it over and over and over. And then the more you practice, the better you get at it, and the more
That's
you can
Wimpy.
up level your
That's
drills,
Wimpy.
and the more your skills are going to be there when you need them.
That was
And that's
Wimpy.
the goal, is to have your skills be there when you need them, and you don't need to think about them. It's just the way you ride, and you will be totally in control of your motorcycle, fearless, fearing it less, and enjoying the experience so much more than you could ever imagine right now. And that big giant smile on your face will be there
Right.
all the
Not
time
bad.
because you're happy about what you can do on your motorcycle.
Not bad at all. Exercise 7, figure eights.
Now we get to the most fun part of our practice session. Exercise 7 is the figure eights. So because we practice all the time, we're pretty comfortable with doing the figure eight. So what we do is we add a lot of iterations. We go around a number of times until we feel like getting out of the figure eight. The things that we're doing and working on are basically working on our speed, we're working on our control, we're working on our lean angle. Sometimes we don't use the rear brake. Sometimes we're trying to make the turns tighter and tighter to keep them inside the 18-foot box. And, we have a lot of fun with it. But if you're new to this exercise, what we want you to focus on is using all the space. So getting all the way over to the other gate, turning your head and eyes so that you're coming around and you're coming along the white line, so the center of the figure eight. And that's what's going to put you in a good position for doing the next U-turn. So this is really just 2 back-to-back U-turns, and it gets you, again, comfortable with leaning your bike and more comfortable with your transition speed. So that's constantly what you're working on in these exercises, is to get better and better and better at leaning your bike, looking where you're going, and transitioning your handlebars. So you're actually turning them pretty tight, so they're not in a full lock. I don't feel like my handlebars are in a full lock, but I do find that if I can get my head and eyes around to where I'm going and I twist at the waist, so I'm really trying to lean, I can get the bike to come around quicker and more tight. So again, Mike is working on his transition speed always, and he's also working on not using his rear brake. So in this particular one, he's using his rear brake, and then once you have that down, you can use it less and less. And I think that's really what the goal is to be on your rear brake just enough to correct your speed here and there. But if you get that clutch control where you are so fine-tuned with it, you can really manage your speed. Now, what you can't do is pull the clutch all the way in and coast. Because when you pull the clutch all the way in, you coast actually faster than you do when you're in the friction zone. So staying in the friction is super important when you're not using your rear brake. And it's important, obviously, when you are using the rear brake, because you don't want to create too much torque. You want to have the rear brake just keep you in control, but not using it so much that it's slowing you down because you're using too much clutch. So if you feel that you're using too much rear brake and it's working against how much power you're giving your motorcycle with the clutch, then come off the clutch a little bit and work with not using the rear brake as much, so that you have to control your speed with your clutch. And if you feel that you're going too fast, it's your clutch is open too far. So you want to bring your clutch in a little bit, and then everything will start to get easier and easier. Once you get comfortable with that clutch control, you're going to see that doing these maneuvers is really a lot of fun. It gives you a lot of confidence on your motorcycle. It gives you the ability to handle your motorcycle in tight spaces, and you don't need to put your feet down. And you can move it around wherever you need to without your feet down. So that's the goal. No feet down, lean your bike, and fast transitions. So you really want to make sure that you're real smooth with your transitions. You can go back and forth with your handlebars and move them around with ease. And the only way to do that is through practice, practice, practice. Lots of repetitions, doing these exercises, and there really is nothing you'll encounter on the road that
How you doing?
these exercises won't help you maneuver through. Now, we're not doing high-speed maneuvers, so clearly you want to practice things with higher speeds. But these are really just exercises to help you have complete control over your motorcycle at slow speeds, under 10 miles an hour. And that's what we're focused on here. When you get that down, going fast is a lot easier.
He never goes through the gate. Hopefully I got that.
On to exercise 8. That's the double offset serpentine. Now, this here is, it's an offset serpentine, just like exercise 5, and there's 2 side by side. So you're really doing back-to-back U-turns, just like the figure 8, only you're progressing forward at the same time. This one here, everybody loves. Now, when people first try it, sometimes it gives them difficulty and they have to work really hard on it because people don't like holding their turns. So if you had trouble holding your turns in the U-turns and you had trouble holding your turns in the figure 8, you might have trouble holding the turns in the double offset as well. So and I always call it the double offset. It's offset double. It's a double serpentine, and that's offset. So I'll get that right eventually, but we'll call it the double offset serpentine. And it is a favorite once you get this holding of your turns down. It's a lot of fun to do this exercise. I think it's because it more mimics being on the road and you're in like switchbacks and you're progressing rather than just going around in circles on the figure 8. But what we're doing here is we're holding our turns and looking at the gate that we just came from. And we're filling the space between the cones. So we're not looking at the cones, we're looking at the space in between the cones for where to put our motorcycle. And when we go through, we favor the outside of the gate, and that brings us around so that we have plenty of room to complete our U-turn. And we're pretty much halfway through the U-turn, 3/4 of the way through the U-turn by the time we go through the gate. Now, a lot of times people go straight to the gate, and that's where they don't have the ability to make a tight turn, so they're not going to hold it long enough to get through the gate. What I do here is I go through one time with, wider turns and holding my turns, and then the second time what I do is I go straight to the gates. Straight to the gates forces you to make a tighter turn going through. And I'm just working a little bit more on my speed and my ability to drop in on that turn right there. So it's just an up level of the drill. And as you get more comfortable with it and you're wanting to make things a little bit more challenging, you can do things like that. So go straight to the gate when you're advancing your skills. But my recommendation is if you're new to this drill and you have never done it before, you might even work on going outside the gates. So outside the gates will give you a little bit more room to hold your turns, and you can get a little bit more comfortable with doing that. And then this drill is a piece of cake and it's a lot of fun.
What was that all about?
I'm practicing.
That's that straight to the gate stuff. Yeah.
I'm practicing.
Straight gate.
Straight to the gate. That's the up level that Robert made us do.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you made us do that at the practice session.
You're standing right in front of the camera the whole time.
So this is Mike and Fred. He's going along. What he works on mostly is his transition speed. He wants it to be smoother and quicker, more comfortable. So there's always something to work on with this drill. It's a lot of fun to do this drill, especially once you have it down and you're just working on getting better and better at it. We try to do a tight U-turn at the halfway point and go back in. And then, just really work on our head and eyes, work on our consistency with where we're placing the motorcycle and doing the turns. Holding our turns, filling the space, getting the U-turn done pretty much before you get through the gate. And it gives you a lot of time to get to the next gate. It's really, just a super fun exercise. I invite you to try it because it's awesome.
You go first.
I think he's going to go again, and he's going to not use the rear brake this time. And that is really working on your clutch control. Oh, he and Rich are going to go together, so Rich is following him. And that always gives you an extra thing to think about. Like, you've got this person right behind you, so you know you can't make a mistake. And it also speeds you up a little bit. So, it kind of presses you to go a little faster when somebody's on your tail. And it's just another up level for the drill. It makes it more entertaining. And when there's two people in there, it gives you a little bit more to focus on. If you ride in groups, this is a good drill to do because working together in tandem is going to help you work when you're out on the road and you're in groups. And keep your spacing, timing, head and eyes. That's the drill. And last but not least is the Snowman. So we only have 3 circles set up. So normally the Snowman is a 27-foot circle, a 25-foot circle, a 22-foot circle, and an 18-foot circle. But because that white car has parked itself there and it just stays right there all the time, it's been there for weeks and weeks and weeks, we only set up the 25, the 22, and the 18. And we work on those. So Rich has just really been struggling with getting that 18-foot top of the Snowman. And it's not that he can't do the 18-foot, it's the wheel placement. So as Robert says, it's placement, hug 'em, commit, which means you've got to get your front tire right along those cones at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then 12 o'clock.
You got scared.
And
right,
if you keep them right along there, the whole other side of the circle is going to be a piece of cake. But if you're off, even a few inches, and you don't lean the bike, and I think what happens with Rich is not only does he see how his tire is off at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, so it pushes him over on the other side of the circle. But he also goes fast in this, and I think if he were to slow down a little bit,
he let the clutch out,
but be going fast enough that he could still lean the bike, I think there's this place in between with Rich that he has to go fast enough to lean the bike. That's why he's so good at the figure 8 and the offset double, is that he can go faster. So now I'm up, and I just basically work on using all my space. I'm working on keeping my body weight forward and counter sitting a little bit, and I'm focusing on my head and eyes, but my wheel placement is typically really good, and I can get that bike all the way over to the cones and then hold it to the top. And I think because I can lean this bike further than I can lean my Street Glide, there is room for error in there. So if I'm not all the way hugging the cones, I can still make the U-turn or the circle because I'm leaning the bike without fear of hitting or scraping my boards. On my Street Glide, my boards are a couple inches lower, and that they hit sooner. So I'm always thinking about that when I've got my Street Glide. But the Road King is really a dream for doing these maneuvers because my boards are back to standard height.
Yeah.
And I can really see where I'm going because there's no fairing. And I can lean that bike right over. If my boards weren't lowered on my Street Glide, it would probably be just as easy to do these maneuvers on that. But I'm doing a maneuver where you turn inside of the top of the Snowman, and that can be a little tricky because you have to go super slow in order to change the direction of your wheel inside the circle because you still have to hug the cones. So that's what I was working on there. I don't sweat it if I miss a little bit because I know I can get my wheel placement right. If I don't get my wheel placement right, I know that I might hit those cones on the way out. So you've got to get all the way to the top of the Snowman there before you aren't hitting the cones on the exit.
You got a foot at the top.
But you can keep yourself in the circle there as long as you want once you have the wheel placement down and the lean angle and the speed.
Probably a foot at the top.
I have done this brakeless before too. I don't typically practice it brakeless,
It looked great. You still
but
did it.
I kind of like this drill. And now Mike's going to go with Fred. And again, Mike works on his lean angle. His boards now are lowered, so he can't lean this bike as far as I can lean the Road King. So his wheel placement has to be really perfect. And he's got to get the tires all the way over and all the way to the top of the circle so that he doesn't hit the cones on the way out. So sometimes he doesn't make that and he gets frustrated with it, but he can do this drill.
Too slow.
There, that's going to be a good one. And he might have just nicked that one on the way out, but it's negligible. You can see he left a little space there, so he might nick the cones on that one. But for the most part, he's got the left-hand side down pretty well. And then on the right-hand side, that one was good. On the right-hand side, he struggles a little bit, just like everyone has their strong side. I think I'm stronger on the left on the Road King. I'm stronger on the right on my Street Glide. Who knows why? If you have that same thing, put that in the comments because I'm always curious to see if people have that. If the bike is different, can you do you have a preference on which side you can do better?
You're off about.
But again, it's just the wheel placement. It's not that he can't do that side. It's the wheel placement is just not as tight. So he's leaving, right? He's leaving space right there, which causes him to go a little wide on the other side.
Yep. Okay.
I think another thing that might help him too is right at the top. You got to look at the exit. You got to look at your next setup.
That time.
So
I was still spacing.
the
was okay
exit
that time?
point is where you're going to go next from the top of the Snowman. So that's why you want to be looking at the exit. As soon as you get to the top of the Snowman, you've got to look to the exit to get out. And then that's going to bring the front of the bike right around. But his wheel placement's perfect there. Absolutely perfect. So that one will be a success. And that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for the perfect wheel placement, and then the circle will just come. Placement, hug 'em, commit. Exercise 9, Snowman.
So there you have it. We finished practice session 80, and we had one of the Space Coast Hog chapter members show up. His name is Neil, and we got him doing a couple of the exercises. He did 1 and 2. Really needs to work on his clutch control and keeping that throttle up, so he watched the rest of the exercises, and we'll check in with him and see what he thought. That's okay. So Neil, you're from the Hog Chapter Space Coast?
Yes, I am.
What had you come down?
Well, I heard when you guys were there and you presented, and obviously I know I need to work on my slow driving skills. So it's, shows me you just showed me how much I actually do need to work on it.
And what kind of a bike do you have?
I've got a 24 Street Glide.
It's beautiful too. It's over there. I'll zero in
Nope,
on
Street
it.
Fire. Yeah, I love it.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, great bike.
Not
But,
set up for dropping it yet.
No. We need to get some crash bars before I get into all these challenges and tests out here. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what did you think of the initial, like just trying to get used to it?
No,
Very foreign.
No, there's a lot. It doesn't come natural. Obviously, it's something that it's a skill that you're gonna have to build and learn upon. There's no doubt about that. Because you need to learn how to feather that clutch, and not even so much that, but like even like dragging the brake, just lightly on the brake. How much it does help right you when you're in that RPM range.
And
So-
what do you think if you practice these skills every week?
I've seen. Well, obviously you'd get as good as you guys, obviously, but.
And think
I'm
about
nowhere
the
near
level
there.
of confidence you'd have
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
driving in traffic, being in close quarters at a parking lot,
Yep,
being up at
absolutely.
Daytona.
Yep.
Like,
Well,
where would those skills come in?
they'll come in handy everywhere, every day, all around town.
What kind of riding do you do?
I do mostly. I don't know. I do a little bit of everything. I haven't done a whole lot of trips other than just like going up to Daytona or like 100-mile trips or something like that. But I haven't done I haven't done any long trips. But I've only had my bike since December.
Okay.
So
Are you a brand new rider?
I'm not a brand new rider, but I've been out of it for quite a while. I haven't had a bike since like 2007, so it's been quite a while.
So you grew up as a kid riding them?
No, I wouldn't say that. I had a bike in 2007, and I had it for a while and got really used to riding it, but never, I would say, not to these skills because that was my first bike. So, I just kind of got the basics in riding and just having fun and doing that stuff. And it was on a smaller bike, and then being out of it for a while, and then getting back in and obviously being rusty, and then.
And so what had you get back in, and what had you get that bike?
Well, me and my wife had an agreement that I couldn't have a bike, and I agreed not to have a bike as long as I could have a boat. And after so many years, because of the boat she wants, has to have it down below, and I'm like, well, that's a whole lot of money, and I'm like, I'm never going to have that boat. So you know what? I'm getting a bike. Now she doesn't much care for that, but yeah.
So she doesn't ride?
She doesn't ride. She's scared. She's an ER nurse, so she sees a lot of the bike versus car challenges, and so she sees a lot of that. So obviously these skills will help prevent, if you know how to do evasive maneuvers and being able to know that you're confident on your bike, obviously those will help.
Exactly, and giving yourself more and more options in
Yes.
your tool belt when you're on the road. So there is like this thing called, there was nothing I could do. Well, if you've got options in your tool belt, there is something you can do.
Right. Yep.
So,
No, I see that it's being a valuable tool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so she might feel more confident, that you're more confident being on the road if you were practicing too.
Yes.
So awesome, thanks for
Yep.
coming out.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.